So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah adada khalqihi wa rida nafsihi wa zinata arshi. ومداد كلماته منتهى علمه وجمع ما شاء وخلق وضرع وبرع عالم الغيب شهادة الرحمن الرحيم المالك القدوس العزيز الحكيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك له الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وحبيبه وخليله وأرسله بهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كل لو كرهات المشركين وبعد. So, what I want to discuss briefly is a series. I'm going to do it over the month of February because it's a month of most people get conscious, right? Most holidays that's developed in this country, it draws about a certain consciousness, which also helps consumerism. All right. When it's Christmas time, everybody gets holiday spirit and everybody wants to buy a gift. All right. When it's Thanksgiving time, everybody's in this holiday spirit, want to have dinner together, we ready to eat together. That's the only time the Muslims think they can get dawah to their non-Muslim families, right? Like, oh man, it's Thanksgiving, we got to give dawah. You know, everybody's gonna be over to eat at grandma's house. We can get some of them turkey legs and stuff. Everybody gets in that mindset. Easter. Everybody. You ain't even Christian, but you want to send little Abdullah, to church with Auntie May May, in his little pink and white outfit with his white patent leather shoes on, So these type of things, take place during these holidays. And so this month, the advice I want to give during this month and take advantage and capitalize off of this month of Black History, I think, I want to bring a different consciousness for it, right? Now, first of all, when most people they argue about the whole concept of Black History Month and so on and so forth. Just a little background history. It started off as Black History Week, and it wasn't developed by white people. It was actually developed by Carter G. Woodson. All right. So, but what I see that happens with Black History Month as a Muslim, because Islam is very revolutionary and revolutionizing, right? What I've noticed with Black history as a child growing up, there's two types of Black history. You get grassroots Black history, and then you get textbook Black history. Meaning because America is a capitalist society, the one thing that the country is known for is contribution. Okay, it's contribution to the American workforce, right? And so every time that they have Black History Month, they're always telling you about somebody who's an inventor and so on and so forth. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to mobilize you and also make you aware of Black inventors and Black workers, right? And if you are highlighting on the history of Black inventors and Black workers, what does that do to the Black reader? It mobilizes him to do what? Believe he can make some kind of invention to be a contributor to American society. We've long left the ideas that our Sheikh Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, aka Malcolm X, has left. We've left that philosophy. Even Muslims, that was always the distinguishing identity of Black American Muslims. Always a distinguishing identity. And what was his philosophy? That Black people should separate, right? They should bring together, do their own thing. And it's funny because the notes, I'll mention this to some of the notes of today's khutbah I was going to give. Separation is imperative. A big portion of our problems as Muslims is because of our wanting to be included. We don't see ourselves as special. Case in point, I'll give you an example. Most people want to be affiliated as Black Muslims in America. If you are in a masjid that is predominantly immigrant, okay, Because America is segregated, although it makes you feel like everybody is together, because it's still segregated. It's systematically segregated. In our neighborhoods are segregated. No matter how many white people you see are moving into the sections of Philadelphia, there's a line between blacks and whites. There's a line you know not to cross, right? Like over here, you go over here like in University City. Cross Market, going back towards like Brown and all that, is black. There's certain pockets that you come across Market, Sansom, Ludlow, Chestnut, Walnut, it's white and it's immigrant. It's a mixture, right? But it's not black American. When you go to their masajid over in the two masjids on Walnut Street, the people who occupy those masajid, if you ever notice, let's say Jamia for instance, right? And the reason why I'm saying Jamia is all 5 prayers, there's always people there. All 5 prayers, people are there, but why are they there? Are they there because they drive all the way from Mount Airy to come all the way down to pray in West Philly? No. Do they drive all the way from Center City just to come to pray, in West Philly? No. They live around there. They understand the concept of community. They understand that concept of, the role that a masjid plays. Okay? They understand that role. They understand what it means to sacrifice money in order to keep that, at least that part of your deen together. Okay? Now, you'll have people you'll have Muslims live in an area. Like in our area here, there are a lot of Muslims that live in these areas, but they don't come to this masjid. Right? Many of us, we kind of live back over this way. We live in the area, but we live back over that way, right? And most of us, be honest with you, 1, 2, and 3, 4. There's 4 masjids closer than our masjid, right? So you see, now's a point I'm building up to. Now, when you're praying in those immigrant masjids, right, you begin to automatically check your behavior, or you begin to adapt and embrace their behavior based off of you keeping their customs. And sometimes you think that their customs is sunnah, because our mind, we think too broad, but we're narrow-minded with each other. We're broad with everybody else, but narrow-minded with each other. So what happens is you equate their behaviors to be Islamic. You equate it to. And so then what happens is the other communities that's across town, the communities that's Jama'ah oriented and the African American established, or Black American, Black Muslim American, whatever you want to call yourself, Moors, Hebrew, Israelites, everything. Hey, black people call themselves everything. That's also another sickness, because what happens is we want to identify ourselves with everything except our realistic situation. And this is what I'm building up to. So what happens is, who remember the days of the handshake? Remember this handshake right here? Remember that handshake? You remember that salt that? Mashallah, right? That's an old handshake, right?
That handshake ain't old.
That just go back. None of these guys know this.
Old, that joint ain't new. That's we so.
Ain't nobody know that. When they come in, guess what everybody else know?
We so weak.
So I'm like, shake. That's what everybody know. Back in the day, when I became Muslim, that was we thought your wrist was gonna break if we shake it too hard. In the bobblehead, right? You got that. All of those things came from. It has nothing to do with the Prophet ﷺ, right? But you start taking that on because you figure, because they're from a place where predominantly Muslims, where Muslims are at, that's got to be something that was taught, from Rasulullah ﷺ, right? So therefore, now you had the flip side. Now this is the man. This is a result of you not being real with yourself, right? What I mean by that, not being real, not embracing who you are, okay? That's something that people don't. When people start embracing, when you get around people in the hood, right, and they have a real low self-esteem about themselves, they be like, man, we ain't never gonna get out of here unless we rob and steal. They believe that that's their reality and that's what they embrace, right? But when it comes Islamically, we don't believe that, we have that same, we got that drive and vigor. That's why we're always waiting for a savior to come in and swoop us up and save us. Right? And this is from, a lot of us won't think, but it is connected back to the plantation. Because that image, when they gave you the picture Bible, they never gave you words in the Bible. They gave you the picture Bible. And they gave you that picture, and who did you see in there as your God? You praying and praying and praying. Who they showing there as that God? That white Jesus, right? So you were automatically ingrained to have an image over you to affect the way you think about yourself. You feel inferior. So you started, it started identifying with that, right? And it was so bad, men would perm their hair, which they're going back to now, at least in them southern states, they perm their hair. They're wearing tight clothing, right? They're doing drugs. Matter of fact, the rap era right now remind me of the 70s and the 80s with the drug, sex, and rock and roll thing, right? It's the same thing. I can identify it from a mile away. So you have all of these different factors that's playing, but all of it is based off of low self-esteem. So now you become Muslim. In our era, when did NOI start? 19 what? 20 something? 1930 something?
No, NOI started like 1920 something. It didn't. The Nation of Islam wasn't established till 1929.
Okay, so 1929, right? Almost. What we in 2019? Almost 100 years later, we still praising Elijah Muhammad.
88.
How many?
88 years.
88 years, but almost 100, and we're still praising Elijah Muhammad. And we know Islam now. This is still a fitna in the community because periodically some of our Muslim leaders, they go to Savior's Day and give a khutbah and pray with them. Almost 80 years later, as Muslims, Sunni Muslims, we still confused, right? So here it is, and it's so hypocritical because many of our elders that were in the NOI and later, embraced, real Islam, they actually had fights. Now, I'm going to show you where's the difference between us and them. If there's nothing, because a lot of our elders was in their 50s and 60s, 50s on up. I'll say that. They lived during that Black Power era, right? You know what that next era was from 40s on down? You know what it was called? The Green Power era. Everybody started getting a little bit of money. Not a whole lot, but just enough so that you could buy the same thing that the white people can buy, right? Still psychologically controlled. So with that connection, you have this problem. Now we're beginning to embrace Islam. And so now it's like, yes, we had the Dar Islam movement, Imam Jamil Alameen, right? You had you had Imam Jamil. You had the Hanafiya movement with Khalis Muhammad. And you had a few other black movements that was about establishing justice, right? That was their theme, establishing justice. No, I'm saying there was other groups. I'll be sitting there like forever trying to think, but I'm just like kind of like naming a lot of groups. You also had gangs that were becoming Muslim as well. You had that affiliation. So you had all these different things that were playing part, in the history. So then what happens is now you're starting to get the sprinkles of immigrants. Now, my whole philosophy, I was influenced by Malcolm, right? Philosophically. What I seen when I wanted to become Muslim, who I seen in my neighborhoods was Dr. York's people. The Ansars. That's who I seen. They were the ones out speaking Arabic to little kids. They were out passing papers out, selling incense, had thobes on, looking Muslim. I was like, yo, this must be, because I was the kind of person, you asked my mother, I was the kind of person, I wanted anything except to be white. I couldn't stand it. I was like, yo, everything about people, I hated names like Joseph, John, Henry, William. I hated everything. Everything that had to do with European or white American, I ain't want nothing to do with it, right? I didn't hate white people per se. I just didn't want nothing with their culture, because their culture forced us to assimilate and embrace it, right? So this was the whole thing. It started the beginning process of me leaving church because of the whole white Jesus and all this stuff was coming on. It's funny because the first book I read was a Bible. It was a picture Bible too with white Jesus in there. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So we became Muslim. Me, I kind of like had this attitude, like, all right, I'm a black Muslim. I didn't like the Nation of Islam. I liked their rhetoric. I liked it that they talk heavy with politics, right? But I couldn't stand the fact they shaved their beards and they wore bow ties. I hated that. And so I always thought that they wanted, to be white. You right? And so anyway, so as time developed, I came in the masjid and I was expecting something different because all of the old gangsters around my neighborhood were becoming Muslim, and these guys were family men now. They got jobs, they got their kids, because growing up in projects and stuff like that, you didn't see a lot of daddies coming through. And so when you started seeing them come through with with their turbans on and their sons carrying their kufis and they run into the masjid, I'm like, man, that's deep, man. I want to be part of that. So, I went through my trials and errors and going through the streets and everything like that. I became Muslim, right? I didn't want to become Muslim only on one thing. That stuff the brother was talking to me about, I got to give my wife all my money and I can't have none. I was like, hold up, Jack. I might not become Muslim. This is the case. Right? He started talking out like, pump your brakes. Hold on. But the brother corrected that. But anyway, so what you started seeing was in jail, in black masses was different than praying at immigrant masses. Black masses was there, but I noticed it was like a war zone. We were always arguing and fighting about everything, and I couldn't understand why. I'd be like, wait a minute. If this is our hadiths, then why are we fighting about this? Oh, no, brother. I'm a black man in America, and we ain't gonna follow Arabs and this. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Wait a minute, hold on. Because in the hood you could be around everybody and still be you. That was the thing that most people respected about black people in the hood, is that they didn't care what nobody thought about them. They lived it. They got it how they lived it. They lived it how they lived it. It's like, yo, this is us. This is our way of life. You know what I'm saying? If you ever had a little white friend, I used to be notorious for that. Because I would go to Roosevelt High School, which was in the suburbs. Sometimes I'll bring my little white friends through the projects. Like, come on through, man. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to you. Right? I used to enjoy it though, watching them, because I used to be scared in their neighborhood. So I used to enjoy watching their face. They see all these black guys like, yo, we all right? Yeah, we all right, man. Loosen up, man. We good, man. But they scared to death. So, but anyway, make a long story short, I realized after I became Muslim, in the masajid was the same behavior mentality that we had towards each other in the streets. We was almost gangbang. We did everything except gangbang in the masjid, right? And then that's when we started hearing about the communities breaking up because of the whole Salafi movement and so on and so forth. Which I'll tell you this, I'll say this now, just in case I forget later. The Salafi influence has always been around, even during the time of Malcolm. They were called the World Youth Assembly or World Muslim Youth Assembly or something like that. They told Malcolm to don't worry about his people, just teach the Sunnah. That's what he said, right? So that's a whole nother topic in itself. And so Malcolm, when he traveled, he said that where everybody was at war with white supremacy, because the whole Cold War was about bringing Arab nations in, right? And the argument was it was communism versus American imperialism / Republican / democracy, right? That's what it was. And so what America did to appeal to Muslims was saying that this is where the whole thing about the Abrahamic faith come from. We're people of the book like you. Look at us. Communists and socialists, they're atheists. They don't believe in any type of religion, organized. They believe religion is the devil, right? But deep down inside, America is an atheist society too. They just call it secularism, right? Secularism is their political philosophy. Their deen is atheism. Because anytime that you think that you can rule, you gotta understand. These things, when you look at the Sharia, and this is part of our problem that we're suffering from today, we don't view the Sharia in the right way. We've let the idea of Muslims being embraced by the kuffar, when Allah tells you in the Quran they'll never be pleased, they'll never accept you, right? We put our desire to be accepted by them to the point that we think of the Sharia, think of Islam, the Quran, the Sunnah, the same way that they think about Democrat and Republican, right? And you had those movements. You had the movement in Jama'at Islamiyah, and all those different movements that developed. All these movements that believed in what? We can vote our way into power, right? This isn't the Islamic way. So as time progressed, as time progressed,
Well, actually HT, their propagation is the preparation for the coming of the Mahdi.
Preparation coming of Mahdi, right?
But using the Sharia system of the Uthmani Caliphate, that Sharia system,
right? But
not recognizing any other caliphate besides that one.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned it. All these different movements. Foreign movements started saturating our masajids, especially heavy in the mid and late 90s. Every black man was trying to join some kind of movement.
They kicked it off heavy in the 80s, early 80s.
They have. I can't testify. I wasn't Muslim then. So all right. So it started in the 80s.
We'll be in the masjid. You a group of brothers come in. They Ikhwan Muslimin. They want to be involved with the masjid. They want to donate money.
Don't forget the MSA.
No talking about.
Don't forget the MSA.
No talking about teaching.
Exactly.
No talking about teaching. No talking about organizing. No talking about going out here and shutting the drug dealers down.
Nope.
Closing down the
that was our own personal battles.
Yeah, but they want to donate this and all. Then you have HT. They come through. Mm-hmm. Predominantly Palestinian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Indo-Pak. They come in with their program. Mm-hmm. Now by this time, now I'm giving you a count in Chicago. You know what I mean? By this time, you say 85, 86, then you have Jamaat Tabligh come in. You know what I'm saying? But the difference with Jamaat Tabligh and all of them other cats, that Jamaat Tabligh was talking about going out
and doing deen. Which deen. Now
going out to
stay right there. With both of those groups, one group was more politically based and the other group was religiously based, right? Let's go back to Saudi. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab was what? The religious base of the Arabian kingdom, right? Their army and who they fought for was the Saud family. That was the political power. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab combined with them, this is why his methodology runs Saudi Arabia. He was promised that because his contribution to that. But guess what? Guess what the army was called of the Saud family? Ikhwani Muslimin. That's who they were. Now you taking both of these. Now you got the Wahhabi over here. Remember the Salafi before. I don't care what they call it. They call themselves Dawah the Salafi, whatever you want to call them, Wahhabi, whatever, right? Kufar was referred to them as Wahhabi. You can look back in their books. They never called them Muslim. You never called them like Ahl Sunnah, none of that. But anyway, so you had them. You had the whole thing. Oh, we got to learn our deen, right? Now, like you said, you mentioned an important point. There wasn't no teaching or anything like this. The Jamaats in the past, they taught, and they taught from the books that was available from them in English. That's why most black people follow what madhab by default, Hanafi. Because the Pakistanis and the Indians, they speak English. If you go to Britain, the way we are here, they are over there. They are the indigenous community of Britain or British, whatever the heck they call it. So I don't want to call them Great Britain. UK, right? The United Kingdom. So that's what so those books were here, right? So people were learning that Ta'lim al-Haq and books like that. And they're not bad books. I'm just saying, this is where we just took what was right in front of us, right? We was influenced a lot by Qadiani. Qadiani is a Desi deviant group. Some of them, matter of fact, some of them are Kafirs, right? The Qadiani slash, what's the other name for them? Ahmadiyya. Qadiani slash Ahmadiyya, they are a Indian, a Desi, Indo-Pak, deviant group, right? But their beliefs also influenced and affected More Science Temple, NOI, and other groups.
And the Sikhs.
In the Sikhs, yeah.
They influenced the Sikhs.
So all of that stuff influenced, and it was sprinkled into our communities, right? Now, so what's happening here? Our communities are being infiltrated by foreign movements, to establishing Islam. So it was like and you started hearing the rhetoric amongst us, right? You'll have the people that came back learning the traditional Islam, and this stuff still exists now. They'll come back learning the tradition. We want to teach the correct way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at, And then, you had the other group that was like, no, we need to establish Islam. We need to establish it right now. We ain't got 90 years to be learning wudu, right? Now, the Shehu puts us right on track. This is why it's a nitma. Anybody who doesn't wholeheartedly, fall into the minhaj of the Shehu, you're going to lose. Because all these different groups are out here to distract you. With the Shehu, Allah blessed him, right? To meet with the Prophet ﷺ in his dream. Allah blessed him to be able to establish Sokoto just like the Prophet ﷺ. You want to tell the grandeur of a particular scholar? Look at the ending of his life. Yes, it's beautiful if he's floating and walking across water, flying in the air and all these different things. But did they have the ability to fight jihad? Not every scholar, not even the luxurious, illustrious Ibn Taymiyyah didn't even have that luxury. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote fatwas for the Mongols, the fight against the Mongols. He was pro-jihad, but he wasn't a jihadi, right? He wrote for that, and he was a brilliant scholar, but he had some issues with his aqidah, right? He was very talented. The man wrote his one of his worst works is Aqidah Wasatiyah. He wrote that journey between Dhur and Asr, right? And so some people be like, wow, man, they have scholars like that. Well, if you feeling left out, Muhammad Bello wrote a book on medicine in between Dhur and Asr on his way to go fight jihad. So it's something to feel proud about. If you want to feel proud about that, he wrote that book on the way to go fight jihad on horseback while he was on horseback riding to go to a battle. So that's even better in my book. But anyway, all of these different groups started coming about. And so then even within the Salafiyah / Wahhabiyah, whatever you want to call them today, they even had their own war, right? Remember, they have three principles of belief or whatever, right? Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah, Asma wa Sifat, right?
They got a fourth one too.
That's what I'm about to get to. The fourth one, right? Not everybody accepts that. Now I'm gonna tell you about Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah. I'm gonna tell you about Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah. You know those groups, Al Qaeda, ISIS, and all that? That's the branch. They follow the fourth Hakimiyyah. So what has happened is these Islamic groups have divided themselves because you have one that's political and the other one that's apolitical. The one that's not political, he's apolitical. He's not political. He says, man, we must support the rulers in all situations and be patient with them. If he's not taking your money and beating your back, you shouldn't fight them. They quote this hadith, right? The other one, Hakimiyyah, they be like, nah, he's an apostate. If he's not upholding the word of Allah Ta'ala, we must take him down, right? What happens in this country? Remember when Bush put out that mandate? What did he say during 9/11? Either you with us or you're against us, right? What did all the Muslims start doing? Fighting amongst each other, becoming snitches and rats. Yo, you need to watch out for him. What I'm talking about right now, 10 years ago, I probably been in Guantanamo Bay somewhere, right? Yo, watch out for him. He be talking about jihad. Dudes was scared to mention the word jihad. And it became so ingrained and so deeply rooted that it's taboo to even talk about jihad now. You start saying jihad, they be like, yo, man, Homeland Security. First thing, anytime you think about jihad, Homeland Security. Because especially if you black, you already, in your mind, everything is criminal. You driving, you're a criminal. Cop get behind you, be like, man, I don't know if my lights out, we might get pulled over. You already trained to be criminal. So if you're an imam, you ain't gonna talk about jihad no more. Why is that? I ain't trying to go to jail, such. I got picked up by the feds, right? So this is the thing. So during that time, it was real hot. So people started changing. But more and more people were becoming Muslim. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, this is how is it affecting Black America? Because if you go back in the 90s, I never forget this. I remember I asked the brother particularly, he was famous at that time, he was real popular, right? And I asked him, I said, yo, have you ever, this before I even learned about the Sheikh or anything, I said, is there any African scholars, like on the Sunnah? Right? And it's funny because somebody else asked me the same question in the inbox on Facebook a couple weeks ago. But he didn't ask me was they on the Sunnah. He asked me was they Salafiyah. Right? So anyway, so I asked him and he said, nah, Africa was never on the Haqq. They were all Sufi. So, I said to myself, because
Arabian Peninsula is in Africa, ain't it?
Listen, that's a whole nother discussion. But the thing was, I was always a person, because I used to love history as a kid growing up. where I didn't care whether it was American history, just history was my thing. I was a history buff. So one thing I always paid attention to, not just history, I also paid attention to geography, right? And so I noticed the great contemporary shape, like in the latter period for the Indo-Pacs is Shah Wali Allah, right? They love Shah Wali Allah, right? They swear by him. I noticed there wasn't the government wasn't actually, but he was a great teacher and great reformer in his own right, and so on and so forth. The Egyptians love Hassan al-Banna, right? I started noticing this being
that's the Ikhwanul Muslimin,
right, but they loved him. They loved him to death. The Arabians had Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, and then later on became Uthaymeen and Bin Baz and all these guys, right? Syria, Ibn Arabi. They loved Ibn Arabi. That was their thing. The whole Sham, basically. Lebanon, Syria, that was their thing. Palestine, I never could understand their thing, and I really started paying attention. I said, wait a minute, these guys they don't really have a leader, right? And I'm not speaking against Palestine, but they just never had a leader. Yasser Arafat, and plus Israel always killed off their leaders anyway, so they try to have this headless movement and stuff like that. But I noticed you're talking about people getting land taken from them, getting rock, and they throwing rocks at men that's armed with guns. And here it is. I'm watching buildings being knocked down, dilapidated, projects being blown up. I remember when that was the big talk around the country when Cabrini Green was being blown up so they can build over there. We was like, damn, they don't tear down the whole project. Lo and behold, they got around every major city in the United States.
Cabrini Green was the last project.
But that was talked about, right? Here you got what's the joint up north?
They just blew up the foot homes. The
foot
homes was the original.
not Bloomberg. Bloomberg is most recent. Richard Allen was one that was blown up. What's the other one? Diamond Street, Saigon. Yo, we knew about this all over the place. We're like, man, all these places blown up. Now I'm a young boy. I was a little conscious growing up. I'm telling you, I was a little conscious. I used to read newspapers and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, man, but we talking about people losing land over here. But every time they blow up projects as quiet as kept, you know how many hundreds, maybe even thousands of people are homeless after that? They can't find a place to live. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So, and then brothers was telling us in the 80s, yo, they coming in Harlem, they're coming in Brooklyn, they coming in any major city, they coming in, they're gonna run you out your neighborhoods. Us, we didn't care about it, we worried about was copping the new Air Jordans. You see what I'm saying? Now, back to what happened in the masjid. So the masjid, as you became Muslim, you didn't care about the hood no more. You was trying to move out in the suburbs or in a nice area because we always went to the masjids that was built from the ground up. If you go right in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan, 96th Street, big masjid, I think Kuwaiti sponsored. Big Middle Eastern masjid. One day, if you ain't never been there, inshallah, maybe one day we get together, we'll go there. It's in Manhattan. Big dome, minaret, joint, nice. Guess what's across the street? Projects, right? People will go from all over. They'll come from every neighborhood just to go there. And meanwhile, they're at home, masajid, hole in the roof, right? They go in there and make sure they give money in the big bucket. Yeah, my last $5, right? Meanwhile, the masjid around your way, hole in the wall, ain't got no heat, right? Having no heat in the masjid ain't strange to me. It's just these bougie young boys that's coming on. We ain't got no heat in here. Dude, we made wudu in ice cold water with weather like this, right? We used to laugh about it because everybody who went in the back to go make wudu, they made the same sound when they turned on that water. Woo! So Ric Flair was back there. Woo! And you hear back there. That was the highlight of our day. We would be there, we would reminisce, but it built brotherhood, right? We didn't care about what else was going on around us. All we cared about was right there. You had small pockets of people like that, but the rest of everybody else, they wanted to fit in with everybody else. Then the whole, all of these things. So these things started affecting us. It started affecting us, and it started moving us away. Now, as young men in the 80s and 90s, we lost our affection for each other as black people to some degree. A portion of us was chipped away. You know why a portion of us was chipped away? Because of the crack era. Because we didn't have no respect. Me as a young boy, I didn't have respect for older men because I was selling them crack. I smack them around. Get out of here, man. I'd never think twice about hitting any man in my family. But I hit a grown man Why? Because you owe me $5 and I'll kill you if you don't give me my $5. There it go. You tore down the fabric. So as a Muslim, it was about, getting right. Me, I actually felt bad that I was doing the things that I did. So I would go back and give dawah to my people, right? This is what I learned from the Prophet ﷺ. I was like one of those type people, like, if that's what it says, that's what we're supposed to do, right? You have some people that was like, I'm only looking out for self. Man, I've been hungry. My ribs been touching for months. You know, alhamdulillah, I'm Muslim now, but I got to work, right? And then you have some people that their only thing was Jannah. You have different people around you. You even had that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, right? But what the biggest problem with us was, we never embraced our reality. We attribute ourselves to everybody else, right? We are descendants of slaves. I don't care which way you look at it. We don't even have to call ourselves slaves. We were brought here in slavery. I'm not ashamed of that. Makes everybody else, some people it makes them wiggle, you know, so they be like, well, I'm Dominican. You know, you ever grow up with people that was everything else but black? Yeah, man, I'm part Portuguese, and especially with these DNA tests, boy, it just, you like you 99%, you know, Fulani, and 1% German. And guess what percentage you focus on? The German. You be like, yeah, I'm gonna go do research on the whole German lineage.
That's
you know,
scheme,
it's a scheme.
It's a whole hoax.
It's a scheme. But the case in point is it gives you a direction to point your inferiority where you're gonna point it at. One person's history I love and I read, Nat Turner, right? Nat Turner, one of my favorite non-Muslim black men in America. Love him to death. You know why I love him to death? Because I like his Jesus, right? And that's also another thing I learned about black people too. And I'm seeing it happening in Islam right now. You remember y'all remember televangelism? Y'all might be too young for that stuff. You know the stuff that when you go to sleep at night and you wake up in the morning, there's a white preacher on? Well, they had black preachers back in the day. Huh?
My man Peter Popo.
They got all kinds of white. Well, quiet as cat. Pay attention. Facebook is the new media for black people. Televangelism. You got all these famous imams, da'is, and students of knowledge that don't have no jamaat and telling leaders that have jamaats what to do. They're influencing the people. What your imam doing? Oh, I didn't think he was doing anything. Bruh, it takes a lot to prepare for class, to sit to teach a class, especially when nobody shows up. It takes away from your family. If you ask my family how they feel, they probably be modest to you, but they probably hate the fact that I sit around and teach all day. And then when I'm at home, I'm researching. How much time they actually enjoy out of my time, out of the day, it's probably about a couple hours. I come in, I go to work, I'm at work, I'm thinking about class. Y'all get that assignment ready. All right, let me get this together. Things like that. But you always get somebody who ain't got no jamaat, his money coming in because he keeps giving marriage seminars all the time, right? All of these different things, that money coming in, that bread coming in. So he has a luxury that other people ain't got. So of course you could be like, well, what is your imam doing, right? Of course you could say those type of things. He's not there he's not there with 3 o'clock in the morning. You got to deal with situation with people, husband out using drugs or wife out, using drugs, she missing or something like that. They out partying, getting high and all. They ain't got to deal with all that. Give advice on how to be in love, but they don't want to deal with the real family effects, right? You get that phone call, the wife done hit the husband in the head with it. They got the luxury to turn people away. Man, look, we trying to get married. We've been living together. Well, I don't do marriages. I ain't got nothing to do with marriage. They don't deal with that kind of stuff. So, of course, you can criticize that type of leadership. So anything that looks like you, resembles you, and that's like you, and it's about, reforming and building you, it's not that popular. Everything else is popular, right? Everything else. Truth be told, I can tell you, as an organization came here, offered us money, said, I'll fix the entire masjid. All you got to do is just subscribe to my program. I told them, nah, we good, right? That's why we still in the condition we in. Plus, nobody gives sadaqah. They do is about like $2 a week. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like, and then when things don't go right, it's your fault, man. You ain't did, you know what I'm saying? We were putting money in there. Yeah, your $2 every week that you was putting in there. I know that. I understand that, kid. Meanwhile, you taking pictures buying flat screens. I'm at Walmart. I call Black Friday. All right, okay, how do you lie? Mashallah. But we're not gonna, we don't complain. But this is part of the psychosis. This is part of the problem. This is part of the sickness, right? So what happens as time goes? You don't see any hope in you becoming some type of political authority. You don't see any hope, and you were taught that you can never be an educational authority, right? What I mean is this. If you're a student and you've been studying, right, you'll never, ever elevate past a student ever in your life. And if a student's teaching you, you'll never be a student to the student. You're just a layman. You'll always be a layman. And the sheikh is somewhere else floating on a carpet in the middle of nowhere, right? So these things is always happening. So there's no elevation. Turn to the shehu, right? One thing about the shehu was the shehu started off as a student. As he grew in his scholarship, his students grew in their scholarship. And when he became the sheikh, they were the sheikh right under the sheikh. And when he became the Amir al-Mu'mineen, then he developed a society, a Medina, right? You'll see this about the shehu. Every Sufi order, every tariqah, all of that is a branch and a benefactor, a benefit of the works of Sheikh Uthman al-Fawzi. The Tijaniya, the Muridiyya, all of them are benefactors off of the Sheikh, off of the works, because he opened up that gate, and once they became independent, that led Umar Tal took it to the west, further west, and opened up them doors, and that's where all those things branched out and was. Not only that, but then you got to look at it before then, because a lot of people don't talk about it. When I was a kid, I wasn't even Muslim. They used to talk about Mansa Musa, right? Mansa is just a title for king, all right? His name was Musa. So, but anyway, in our mind, even still to this day, they compare him to who? Bill Gates, right? And some of these other rich white people, right? They compared him to them. What they didn't tell you was that Mansa Musa was a Muslim. They didn't tell you that he was connected to the Songhai Empire. They didn't tell you all of these different things. But whenever he traveled, he shifted the economy around the world. When he made Hajj, he had so much gold because he went and made trade. Because when people would go to Hajj, it was a journey. It wasn't a business deal. All right, I only got a 10-day vacation. Gotta hurry up, go back. People will walk. Some people would take boats. They would take camel, horse. However they had to get there, they would get there. And in the midst of them going, they were involved in trade along the way. And he shifted the economy. You know what Mansa Musa also did, which is also the intent, one of the intent of, it's for the Jamaat, but you know the Tajdeed al-Sunnah is the Jamaat's education base, right? But it all belongs under the Jamaat. It's the intellectual base of the Jamaat. What was the concept? Was when we started out, was to bring the scholars here in order to teach us, to empower us, because that's how the Songhai Empire was established. They brought the scholars to their area. We weren't forever laymen and forever students, if you get my drift, right? You're not studying so you can move up the political chain. The objective of studying is so that you can gain closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the goal is ma'rifah, right? That opening, that's what that is. So knowledge is your basis. Also, you had in the communities, especially in the black communities, the condemnation of knowledge. What do you think, we just gonna sit around and study books all day? We gotta get out here and get this money. You still thinking like a secularist, right? Because a Muslim, getting money is an act of ibadah. Making money is an act of ibadah. Earning a living, right? The problem is we set up so many mental barriers, we never excel to our highest potential. Right? I remember the days, and I know you remember this, Muhammad. I know you definitely remember this too, Sheikh. You remember the days where everybody was encouraged to wear holy clothes because it was the dunya if you wore nice things? Y'all remember that? Reading too many of them stories. I ain't gonna mention the scholar's name because I don't want to turn as if I'm trying to turn people away from him. But reading too many of them books where he sat on garbage and to condemn himself because he had too much pride. That ain't everybody's situation. We already dirt poor. We already poor, right? Matter of fact, what do they call y'all young enough? What they call fake sneakers now? Fake Jordans. No, fake Jordan. Bobos, cheap shoes. What do they call them, fake Jordans? What they call them, Carty? There you go. See, I was hoping you was gonna be on. You sitting there playing like you ain't know, because I done heard you say it. The Aki. Because the Ox sell them. The Ox always got them. Right. So,
if you got a cookie on it, if you don't, he might say.
Or the stand, yeah. But at one point in time, the stand was how many of us former criminals were taking care of ourselves. The stand was how we take care of ourselves. Oils, incense, and I remember imams from the minbar. I'm telling you, these televangelists. They would stand on the minbar, brothers. You can't take care of wife with incense and oils. I did. I took care of all my children. Matter of fact, I was better. I was able to take care of my family. Nobody in my family worked. Now I got people that work in the family. Never had to before when I was working for myself. Right? So then what happens? You become a wage slave. You're condemned. You're stuck. Average black man's mind, the average salary of a black man, what's a good salary, everybody? What's a good salary? Just pay, hourly wage.
Hourly pay like $20 an hour.
That's luxurious. That's luxurious. 16? That's still luxury. Bring it down some more.
About 13.
$12 an hour. Most jobs only offer you $7.25. $8. You'd be like, I'll take it. And you dedicate your entire life in being to this job of $8 an hour that beats you down mentally. But you condemn someone who's vending. What do you want him to do? Stop vending and start hitting you in the head, robbing you, stealing the Sadaqah boxes? You remember that when that was popular? Dudes used to break the Sadaqah box. Imam, I'm sick. I'm going to stay tonight. The masjid tonight. Come in, the whole wall got a hole in it because he stole the whole box. That's what we want. That's what we want people to go back to. So we didn't feel accepted nor validated unless we had a real job. A real job. And that's when we started planning. And you started hearing your wives echo this, right? You need to get a real job, right? Because the thing is, a woman, her Islam changes when she goes in a crisis financially. The state of her Islam changed. It never stays the same. You lose your job unless you married to like somebody that's like the daughter of the Shehu or Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba or something. Her spiritual state changes. And if she got money and you ain't got no money, you ain't doing nothing, her spiritual state changes then. She become takabbara or mutakabbir, right? She becomes arrogant with you. But look, you ain't doing anything. Y'all can sit down and make an agreement. Like, okay, you know what? You go ahead and take that. I'm going to go to school and I'll take care of the kids. Well, you sit at home all day. I got to go out here and work. So then she started telling you she ain't doing anything, right? All that changes. This helped our breakdown on where we at. So what's the final conclusion, the fatwa, the beginning fatwa of all this? I tell you, I'm making a series called Fatwa for Black Men. This is the first one. First thing first is that we have to begin to embrace our reality, right? Second thing is we have to have a builder's mentality, right? You're having a family. You got to get a wife, get children, get women that can have children. Stop marrying women that can't have children. I'm honest, and I don't have no slight against the women that can't. They can be your third, fourth wife. Marry women that are fertile. The Prophet ﷺ told you this. Why did he say marry women that can have children? So that you can populate the ummah. You will never build yourself a legacy. You won't even increase your sustenance. Every child comes with its own sustenance. Marriage comes with its own sustenance. You think you ain't got no money now? When you get married, you actually have more money, but sometimes you don't see the barakah in it, and your money becomes, in your mind, you constrict your money. Your blessings out of the money you got. Get married, right? Have children. Have children. Build a legacy. This is the only way that you're going to... And don't just marry a woman, because a lot of times we marry women and we don't have an objective other than to have sex, halal sex. Marry a woman that will help you raise your children. If your woman is fighting against you and helping you with your children that you got from someone else, but she wants you to be daddy to her children, stay away from her. That is counterproductive to what we're trying to do. You're starting to lose yourself as a man when you can't deal with your own children, but you're good enough to deal with her children. I don't know about all that stuff, No. We want to push men to be men. This is the only way our children are going to respect us. Our women and children don't have respect for us. Our children don't respect us because our women don't respect us. We just back right out, towel down. Okay, she got it, We don't even, don't do anything. We have to, that's the fatwa. Black men become men again. Right? Marry women and have children with women. And don't just marry just any old woman. Marry a woman that is all the way in your corner. I don't care how much she fuss at you. Your wife gonna fuss at you. They fussed at Umar ibn Khattab and everybody else. So your wife gonna fuss at you. A lot of times as young men, we don't think straight. We think a woman fussing, right? You know, me, I ain't trying to give my wives no idea because I don't like a fussy woman. But anyway, you know, sometimes we take fussing to be the wrong thing. You won't get in an argument over the spoon. You ain't put the spoon back in the sink. All right, babe, I'm sorry, right? You can make a joke about it. That ain't a reason to get a talak. Dudes be getting talak over this stuff. I'm put the spoon. Chill. It's just a spoon. I'm gonna put it back, right? But what we do is we'll stay married to the woman that talk down on you. You ain't ish, you ain't this, and you ain't that. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have this, and you wouldn't do this, that. These are the women you dedicate your whole life to, and then you beat down and miserable. You have no esteem. You already don't have none. And you losing what little bit you got left. Black men, marry good women. Because the women is the beginning of your legacy. If you know, all our divorces have to stop ending in the same way. How's our divorces ending? Our divorces is ending in the same way. We get divorced, and women keep the children. She complained about how we don't have money, right? And then she gets some other guy in there to be rent-a-pop, and rent-a-pop is there, and then she's condemning you while you still living right here, you know, and then he mad at you because he like, man, look, man, you need to come get your little hard-headed son, man, boy, out of pocket. I'm about ready to run up in his mouth. That's what you ready to tell him. And meanwhile, you know, he don't really know, you know, you and her, every time you speak to her about the kids, it's conflict, right? It's conflict. So these type of things, these type of situations have to stop. Because if you destroy the family, you destroy the Jamaat. Because the Jamaat is nothing but a big family, a group of families under one leader. That's what the Jamaats are, right? But if everybody keeps attributing themselves to masters, I don't call them masters, I call them mosques, because masters have guidance there, right? All these mosques in these cities, you got a lot of mosques in Philadelphia. If you ever notice, especially in the big mosques, they got a lot of in and out their family, all kinds of sexual scandals and things of that nature. Why? Because, first of all, go to any masjid. I challenge people. I say it all the time. I challenge people. Go to masjid and try to get some situation dealing with some family counseling. Dudes don't want to deal with you. I know because I sit in these man's meetings. I hear how they talk. They don't want nothing to do with it. Second fatwa for the black man. If you Muslim, be Muslim all the way. Mentally, inside and out. Right? Islam is our deen, our life, our law is how we live by it. Right? If you telling me that these European Jews can let you know that I'm not eating that food because it's not kosher, but you as a Muslim, you want to kiss it up to the sky, bismillah, and eat it. What is wrong with you? Right? You know, they can take off for their Sabbath, but you can't get off for Jummah. They can break for their prayers at sunset when they rocking to the, you know, to the west wall, you know, and all these things, but you can't stop, make wudu, and make salat. Something is wrong. That shows that you don't have enough confidence because there's always that element of fear there. While meanwhile, these people, they walk in. That's the second fatwa. Islam is your end-all be-all. We're Muslim. We live by Islam. Handle our things by Islam. Our marriages, our divorces, right? Every Muslim wants to get married by the kuffar to get recognized, but we don't get divorced in the same manner. We don't divorce. And it becomes a financial burden because our alimony, and it's our law, and it's better than theirs, is while she's in iddah. Their alimony, I think, lasts until she gets married again. It's totally different. It's totally different. We are Muslim. And, you know, the more we play in this system, the only thing it seems to do is make us destitute and poor. The only way you get rich in that system is if you ignore what Allah Ta'ala says and do everything that they do. It's the only way you get ahead. So that's fatwa number 2. My last, third, and final fatwa: stay away from sins. Stay away from sins. If you ever notice with us, I'm not talking about everybody. I know everybody does sins, man. I done seen Palestinian gangs in New Jersey. Trust me, I seen it. Like, it was real. They was throwing up gang signs. It was Bloods. I was like, Palestinian Bloods? You know, and it was funny because I was with Jamaat Tabligh then at that time too, and I'm looking at these young boys like, man, we'll eat you alive in my hood, man. What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm looking at them. But anyway, stay away from sins. If you look at This is your homework. Go read Surah 74. What's that? Mudathir, right? There's the second surah revealed after Iqra, right? Read Surah Mudathir, and when you read it, look up the tafsir. Even Ibn Kathir, expounds on it, says the same thing. Look it up. One of the I think it's the fourth ayat in there. That was going to be today's khutbah too. I was actually going to talk about that. In there,
That's interesting.
Allah Ta'ala tells the Prophet Sallallahu, right? Stand up, right? He says, Ya ayyuhal mudaththir, right? The one who's wrapped up. Because remember, the Prophet Sallallahu will wrap himself. He didn't quite understand what was going on when he started receiving revelation, right? Then Allah Ta'ala told him to stand, right? Stand, go out and warn people. Then Allah Ta'ala told him to do what? Not only just stand, go out and warn people, but, proclaim the majesty of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, right? So therefore, that means the opportunity to hide your Islam. You don't have the time and the opportunity. Then Allah Ta'ala said to stay away from rajazun, right? Now they translate it literally. Some people translate it literally, and this is why you got to learn Arabic. That's the fourth fatwa. All right, I gave 4 fatwas today. Learn Arabic. Now back to fatwa number 3, right? And the reason why I say this, why it's so important, why fatwa number 4 is important about learning Arabic, because if you read the translation, some of the translations says stay away from filth, right? Now this one I give the Noble Quran credit for this, because sometimes in their parentheses is actually the tafsir. It's actually good in some cases, because if most people, if they read Yusuf Ali, he gives a good word for word translation. If you read Pickthall, you'll be back in if you read Pickthall, you'll be back in Mosque Temple number 12, right? Each of these translations, you have to be careful of the Noble Quran, because they only become literal when it comes to the attributes of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You ever peek that? You peek that about them, right? But anyway,
movement.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's why, but anyway, but when it comes to that, it said, make sure you're clean, right? It say stay away from being unclean. When you read the tafsir, all of the Sahaba, Ibn Abbas, some of the Tabi, Mujahid, Ikramah, all of them say, you know what they all say that means? Stay away from idols and sins. So this is early on, the Prophet ﷺ, Allah instructed humanity to stay away from sins. This is in Mecca. See, a lot of time we take the mentality like we ain't in the Kafir, we ain't in Muslim lands, right? Now, if you take this mentality, what that means is that you accepted kufr. You accepted kufr, which goes against fatwa number 2. This is your deen. Practice your deen. This is your Islam. But if you say we're not in a Muslim country, then we can't. You practice everything you can practice to your ability. And to your ability doesn't mean I'm too lazy to do it. It means that you really have no ability to do so, right? This is what they went through. This is what made the Muslims strong in Mecca. They got together. They stayed together. It's not about a mosque. It's about a masjid and having guidance. The believers got together in Mecca based on guidance. They were having the Quran revealed. They would pray. And study over at Ikramah's house, right? People are becoming Muslim now and just studying on YouTube by themselves. They have no connection with nobody. And before YouTube, all we were doing was sliding in the book. Here, Sheikh, go ahead, read this. I'll see it another time. We are failing because we're not following the footsteps of Islam. So with that, we have to see Islam for what it is. It is our way of life, our deen. Our way of life. We only started sitting down using the bathroom as men because of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And it's better than the kuffar. You shouldn't be ashamed, walking into the stall to prove to everybody you don't sit down and urinate. Mind your damn business. I'll piss on you. What you worry about if I stand up and sit down for? You know what I mean? Nah. Okay, inshallah. But instead of people being concerned about what's really, realistic, we're too busy trying to fit in. The whole thing, I don't want to wear my pants legs up just to oppose the hadith. Man, this is bad state. What the Messenger of Allah says, at that point, Tariqa, madhab, it doesn't matter. What's the sunnah is the sunnah. What's the sunnah is the sunnah. Those things that are in between that's, not clear, where you have to make reference back to that. If you look at the four madhabs, 85% of everything is agreed upon. 85% of everything. There's only a small 15% where it differs. That's where you can champion your cause to the truth. Yo, yeah, Suddle's the correct way to pray, not Cov, right? You can believe that. But you can't tell that person, that he's doing something haram. That goes into a whole nother class on minhaj, right? On methodology. That's a whole nother thing. But those four fatwas, that's very important for us to start. I'm going to tell you, this whole month, I'm going to do fatwas for black people. For black men. Fatwas for black men. Because it's important. And it's all centered around it. The next fatwa we'll deal with, we're going to talk about Aqidah. Because that was a big thing. When the whole Aqidah, we're at this point.
That topic alone is why the majority of students of knowledge go and study.
It's because of Aqidah.
Because of Aqidah.
They don't come back studying fiqh. That's a good point. Because a lot of them don't come back studying fiqh. They don't come back teaching fiqh. They come back to teach Aqidah points and argue Aqidah. They don't. How many communities, honestly, in this city? I can name 3 masjids. I'm gonna see if y'all can name 3 masjids. One of us being one of them. It's probably about 4 that teach Aqidah, fiqh, and tasawwuf. All 3. Fard Ain, yes. I could say for certain 2, and I could say there's 2 more.
Well, that's better than me because I only know 1. This one.
AICP.
AICP.
Yeah, they teach y'all. What they say?
They don't do a heavy emphasis on Aqidah. I mean on tasawwuf though.
They don't do a heavy emphasis.
They don't do a heavy emphasis on that. But they teach Aqidah and fiqh. They teach Aqidah and fiqh. Now there's 4 masses you can go to. There's always classes going on. There's always a class going. You always go to Germantown or one of them. Us, we one of them. AICP is one of them. There's quite a few masses. But teaching Fard Ain. Because Fard Ain is what's going to really build your next Wali of Allah. The Fard Ain is what's going to build your next Shehu. Huh?
Actually, they're AICP.
You got Kuba too.
They teach. AICP.
They have their experts.
That the soul of Tariqa is actually deviating from their primary Ahbash labeling. Mostly Ahbash is Qadri.
Yeah, a lot of them are. But but they go through their shit, and that's also another important thing too, and that's another thing about us and AICP, and most of the communities in the city, we have a village mentality,
All right, so what's the other?
Huh?
What's
I don't know. They kind of fade. I did mention Cuba. Cuba Institute.
I don't think they
no, they do. They do.
It's just subtle.
It's subtle, right? Now, so
they do teach Aqidah. They do teach fiqh. But the fiqh ain't all the way Maliki. It's like a little mix and match stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I prayed Taraweeh there, and they doing some mashafi. You know what I mean? Fiqh. Maliki and Shafi joint mixed together.
But anyway, so my case in point is this: village mentality. AICP follow their shape to the T. It's a shape, and you know what? And it's not a bad thing. They're shaped because usually the one who comes to your town is usually the one who gives you the stream of water that leads you to the ocean. Why am I using that analogy of the stream? Because that teacher leads you to that ocean. That ocean is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the water, all water ends up dumps out into a bigger reservoir. You see what I'm saying? And the biggest reservoir is the ocean. So, rivers, streams, lakes, they all eventually end up landing in that reservoir. So them following their sheikh, it wouldn't even be wrong for them to say our tariqah is Harari. They wouldn't be wrong for that. Because whatever he taught them from their path, that's what they know. You see what I'm saying? Now the problem is that we get overshadowed by the bigger crowds, and you start getting into it, what you got between Ahl Sunnah and the Salafiyah. If you ain't down with one of the bigger crowds, you ain't down with this sheikh or that sheikh, you ain't, you don't sit and you didn't go study over at this place and that place. That's where they get lost at. They don't appreciate little small village type of settings. But in here, I think how many, I don't know how many books, the countless, how many books we taught of the Shehu over the last probably 15 years. There's people, I was just seeing a young boy the other day up here on Woodland. I taught him when he was about my son's age. He's like, man, I still know my Maliki fiqh. I still practice my Maliki fiqh and everything. Sheikh, man, it's so good to see you, man. I love you, man. I appreciate everything you taught me. Gotta go by. But the point is consistency. If you look at the Black American community, Black American Muslim community, it's always a turnover. Oh, this person ain't the hit no more. This person is now. He ain't the man no more. This person is. Right? It's almost like rapping. Right? At one point, nobody liked Meek Mills except not even people in Philly like Meek Mills. Cause he battled with Drake and all that stuff. Then Meek get cool with Drake. Now everybody love Meek again. Yeah, Meek. That's how we are at the Shakes. That's how I ain't found that shit. Nah, man, he off it, And it just keep going to the point, I'm telling you, I'm waiting for the day. It's going to be a shootout in the masjid over who shake is the best. I'm telling you, I'm just waiting to hear it. I hope it don't come from Philly. But I'm waiting to hear it. It's going to be a shootout. They're already at the brink. Because you got instigators that, especially for Philly, you got instigators outside of Philly. And some of them outside instigators remind me of the Munafiqeen. They don't have the best interest for Philadelphia at heart, right? And so every little thing, if somebody farts, they can fart in Mount Airy, but it's Germantown's fault. And then they get the whole city up in the guns and ready to go to war with each other. And, and I'm not a supporter of Germantown, but Germantown ain't really had nothing to do with it, right? Oh, somebody gets shot. Massouf Band shot him. You be like, what? What are you talking about? Now me, I ain't the type person. I ain't gonna throw you under the bus. That seemed like to be the imam thing to do here, the imamly thing to do here in Philly. Yeah, I know the brother, man. No, I don't know him. I never seen him in my life. Then they got pictures of y'all hugged up. They did that to imam here. They blew him right up. You know what I'm saying? So he like, nah, I don't know that brother. Then they got him up there like, oh snap. Don't put yourself, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to speak for the media. You don't have to say nothing. Mashallah. You know what I mean? That's my brother. I'm gonna pray for him, put him in the ground. Let's go. There's no need to have a media conference and putting him in the daily newspaper and so on and so forth. We will never bury this Muslim. That was a whole nother thing too. You keep having these things. Everybody keep making flashes and want to become popular and capitalize off of these situations. Right? But the best thing to do, and this is why we chose to do this as a Jamaat, we step back from everybody in their politics. When we used to be all caught up in everything, man, we was battling left and right all day, every day, to the point that the only thing you thought we would talk was how to refute Salafis and how to argue with other imams. That's all you thought was going on. To the point where I would go in a meeting, and I come in there and be like, oh, here come Khalil, man. You understand what I'm saying? It was always that vibe. If I pull my laptop out, I used to carry my laptop back then. Hey, this boy go with this damn laptop. Man, we ain't really gotta go there. They be sick of me. You know what I'm saying? Yo, get this boy out of here. We don't want to. We don't want to see it. And then a lot of dudes, my contemporaries, my age, I don't know, maybe they got a disdain for me because I sat on the rug with them just like everybody else. Didn't say, hey, come learn from me or anything like that. And I got shine at they masjid and they didn't. You got that too, because you'll hear 1,000 stories about me around the city. This dude is stuff that ain't even true. I'm like, what are you talking? Where you hear that from? Who said that? And there's always a mystery, a ghost. The isnad has no real body to connect you to it. So, but black people will destroy our own stuff. Trust me, Tasawwuf Fatwa is going to get there too. Because a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about is because people don't have no Tasawwuf. None whatsoever. And I ain't talking about a tariqah. I'm talking about tasawwuf.
That's the condition of the city. Because it shies away from tasawwuf.
But it not only just tasawwuf, I'm gonna tell you this, what also plays a part, just sharia period. Because the ghanima, the buhtan, the slander, and the backbiting, that's straight from the Quran, right? And and if your tasawwuf is dealing with the inner aspect, so you take a jealous person or a conceited person, an arrogant person, an angry person, and you give him those tools and weapons, because that's his weaponry. That's like his bag of tricks. He like Batman with the utility belt, right? Backbiting. That's his cable. He shoot himself up, pull himself up. That's how you destroy. All you got to do, and that's how most people do. When a dude ain't doing no good, he sits around the community for a while, and he gets familiar with everybody to a certain point, and he starts backbiting and slandering everybody. And so you take him as to be sincere, and this was a learning lesson that I had to learn for myself. I got watch dudes. I get students all the time. They be my closest student. Then all of a sudden, what happened? This brother been here for about 7 years. So you telling me that he stole your woman? That's what you telling me? Yeah, I'm telling you, man. That dude, and then what happens is, it doesn't affect me. It affects all the other brothers, because everybody's always inviting to listen to backbiting and slandering. You be like, oh, he still did that. All of a sudden, nobody want to talk to you now. You come in, everybody like, you're like, yo, where everybody going? Right? These things are destroying the community.
Backbiting and slander, that the one who listens to it
he's just as sinful, right? But most people don't know this information.
Oh, they know it.
No, they don't.
They don't know it enough to know.
Some people know. I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I do agree with you.
One thing I can say.
But a lot of people are ignorant.
One thing I can say about Philly, bro. A lot of people is not as ignorant as they claim to be. A lot of people know stuff. They just don't implement it. And they know it, and they rather act like they don't know it,
right.
So that way, but you're only accountable for what you know. No, but you was there.
Ignorance. There's no excuse for ignorance, though. They were misinformed.
Not innocence.
There's no excuse for ignorance. Matter of fact, the moment you commit the sin, if you didn't know it was a sin, you learn it's a sin. Now you got to stop doing the sin. How you make tawbah? You can't be ignorant and be like, oh, I ain't know. Allah forgive me. What Allah forgive you for if you claim you were ignorant of it? Now you know it's wrong. So it's over. So that's all my fatwas I wanted to give for today, inshallah. I'm telling you, this whole month, inshallah, once a week, I'm going to give fatwas for black people, inshallah. It was a little all over the place, sporadic, but it was a method to my madness, And you have to know history. Honestly, you have to know history of whatever city you in, whatever jamaat you in, and especially if you're trying to do a thing for the community at large, because everybody's always claiming that they're trying to help black people, but nobody spends time really dealing with black people issues. Most imams are MIA. They don't want to be bothered. People got to call other people from somewhere else to get help when you got imams right there in your community, but they don't want nothing to do with it. I don't deal with all that, that stuff. So anyway,